Going out to the clubs sounds like it should be fun on paper. And back in the day, before phones existed, I bet it was. Dancing, good music, girls everywhere, vibed out, right? But if you've been to a club anytime in the past, 5 years, you already know it's a humiliation ritual. And you guys know one of my main quest lines right now is to cut out as many humiliation rituals as I can out of my life. So I haven't been to the club in a while. They just don't make sense for me right now. But I used to go a lot. I grew up in New York, which is one of the nightlife capitals of the entire world. And when I was a little shit, I was attracted to these clubs. But since then, not only have I realized how bad they really are, but also that they're getting worse and worse. Back in the good old days, a club was a successful club because it was fun to go to, right? You go there, you dance, you meet new people. And I got to experience a little taste of this myself right before COVID. But today, clubs are different. And today they rely on two things. So social media and the gooner mindset. And for those of you who don't know what a gooner is, I'm not going to explain that. But for the purpose of this video, let's just say it's someone who hasn't realized, chasing short-term gratification is not the move yet. We'll leave it at that. Without these two things, without social media, without this gooner mindset, these places would be lights out, right? So since COVID, clubs basically became like sets for people to just flex on social media. This idea of exclusivity and, flexing that you're at a spot that's, not easy to get. Not only are you there, you're having fun. It's just all ridiculous. And it's what attracts a lot of people to these clubs, right? It's not about having fun anymore. It's about looking like you're having fun. And most of the time, you guys know, girls get in for free, right? But the guys, these are the guys that keep the lights on in these places. And most guys don't care about flexing on social media. They're there for the girls, let's be honest, right? And that's why I said the gooner mindset is a key piece of this equation, because without it, the modern day nightclub system doesn't work. It's short-term gratification wrapped into one experience. You got everything you need. You got the women, you got the liquor, the music's blasting. Here's the thing, though. It's a total mirage. Like the thirsty dude who's about to croak in the desert. He looks up and he sees like a fresh pond surrounded by palm trees and shit. That's like what happens when you walk into a nightclub now with these girls. I swear, it's like the perfect analogy, because it's like, yes, they are very attractive and dressed to kill, like especially in New York. Oh my God. And sure, there's exceptions, but for the most part, these aren't your regular girls, right? Their interest in you is transactional. And if you're cool with that and also have a bunch of money that you've been looking to light on fire, then you would love going to the club. I got a couple spots for you to go to, bro. But for me, man, especially in this economy, if you think I'm about to drop a rack on a $40 bottle of tequila to impress some girls that go to the club 3 times a week, you are bugging. And if she's impressed by that, she's not for me anyway. She's not Mrs. Walnuts. It's already a bad match, the whole put your name on a sign, the sparklers, everyone's phone comes out. It's all part of the ritual, right? And one of those rare things that I'm actually grateful that I can't afford. Nightclubs, you would think by definition, would be a social experience. But if you're going to one of these, general admission, you might as well stay your ass at home, because you will still have to spend $100 on a ticket, right? And then you have to wait in line for an hour. And then you finally get inside. It's okay, time to get a drink. You now need to spend $30 on each drink, squeezed into a sweaty dance floor like a bozo. It's like, good luck doing that. I just can't be doing that right now. I can't be paying for that experience these days, man. I just owe it to myself not to do that. But the worst part is, club owners know that experience is humiliating and that no dude wants to do that. And so the only alternative would be to get at a table, get table service. Because once you have a table, they'll treat you like a king. There's no line, no waiting for drinks. You actually have space to breathe. You don't even need to approach these girls, because they'll just flock to you because, they get to take photos at the table. They get the free drinks. That's the whole thing, right? The prices of these tables, though, are heinous. I don't know what other word to use besides heinous. I still get texts from one of these clubs, and usually I don't even look at them. But the other day I got one. It was like, Gunna is going to be at, I'm not going to say the name of the club. And I was like, oh shit, like I love Gunna. So just out of curiosity, I checked what the prices of tables look like these days. $10,000 for like the shitty one. $15,000 gets you a better one. $20,000 for the VIP table. I literally started laughing. These prices are insane for two reasons. The first being that there are guys out there willing to pay this money, the gooner mindset that I mentioned earlier. And secondly, and this is where the sleazy promoter comes into play, promoters get paid by the club to bring bozos to their table. So instead of the bozo having to drop 20 bands on their own table, they can just drop $500 each and go to the promoter table. And the promoter, he's basically like the dealer of the nightclub experience. Now he's got the bottles. He has a bunch of girls that have been recruited off Instagram just sitting at the table. And this is where that social media part comes in. The supply, the drug, is the girls and the table. And it's free of cost to the promoter, because girls on Instagram, they just want to have fun and they just want to share their fun, and then their friends see that. So the promoters have tons of girls waiting to come to a table, right? And what he's selling is this experience, this whole process that I'm describing right now. I know it sounds ridiculous, and there's probably people listening to this like, what are you even rambling about? This is why modern day nightclub, nightlife, whatever you want to call it, sucks, because it's a big performance, right? And at this point, I'm so removed from this lifestyle. But back in the day when I would go to clubs, I mean, first off, I never bought my own table because I'm, first off, not rich enough, or second off, not stupid enough to do that. But I would go with a ton of people so we could split it like 10 ways. So it really wasn't that bad. I don't think you can even do that anymore. Or there'd be a rare occasion where, we did have this one promoter who was way cheaper. It was like not that bad. But again, this was a couple of years ago at this point. But you get in, you're at the table, at this, experience in quotes, right? You think that this is where the humiliation would stop, right? This is where you would start having fun, because now you're higher up on this food chain. You aren't with the bozos sweating on the dance floor, trying to squeeze to the bar to get a $50 drink. But you're wrong, because it still isn't a fun experience. And again, the girls that you're with, attractive is like an understatement for these girls. Straight 10 out of 10s. But again, it's a mirage, right? And you got to remember, they aren't really there for you. They're there because you have a table, or because some promoter promised them free drinks, free entry at the club that you're at, right? All over Instagram DMs. And now they're sharing that on Instagram, and it's part of the reason that they're there. It's like a never-ending cycle that repeats and repeats, right? So you basically, if you're at a table, you basically paid to be surrounded by girls that are there for their Instagram stories and free tequila. And like, if that's not some loser shit, I don't know what is. And then, they wonder why the nightclub industry is dying, why nightlife is not fun anymore. And it's fully built around a mirage. It's fully built around dopamine maxing, just the thought of having a one-night stand, drinking, and, having a ton of money to just burn. And honestly, I get legitimately sad when I see like a girl who's my age or younger at a club with a dude who's like 50 years old and looks like the Penguin. It's just a bad look for all parties involved. It's like, why are you dancing to house music, buying shots, giving out shots to girls that could be your daughter? You know what I mean? And while we're on the Arkham, we're talking about the Penguin, who are these goons that they got working as bouncers at these clubs, man? I understand that, they have to deal with drunk people all the time, but man, some of these guys are nuts. Like, if you get on some of these bouncers' bad side, all your human rights go out of the window once you step into the club, especially in New York, man. Like, I swear, I think they're getting these guys straight off of Rikers Island. Like, seriously, they will ask no questions before manhandling someone. I've seen it over and over and again. I've seen people get dragged, like, with one bouncer holding the arms, another bouncer holding the legs. I mean, talk about humiliation, dude. It never happened to me, thank God, but I would have to go into hiding for like a year if they hog-tied my ass out of the club one night. You know what I mean? And it's like, wow, that guy paid for this experience that he's got going right now. But for me, man, when I used to get to these clubs, where I threw whatever amount of money just to get in, I'd always be like, shit, like I really just spent X amount of money to get in here. So a lot of times, like, I wouldn't even be thinking about having fun. I'd just be like, I need to get my money's worth. If it was cheaper, I think that this experience being so terrible and superficial, it wouldn't bother me as much as it does. But it's not, right? There's something that drains my soul when I have to pay money for something that makes me feel worse. Like it's heartbreaking to me. And like I said, a lot of these girls, they're in there totally for free. So I almost see why they're there. Like if someone hit me and the bros up and was like, look, come to this table, we're playing music, everything is free, you don't have to do anything but just pull up. Like, I'm not going to lie, you catch me on a particular night, I'll be like, yeah, let's just go and check it out, guys. If it sucks, we can just leave. Not every weekend, obviously, but once in a blue moon, I could see why that would be appealing. It's free, right? But even if it was free, like in some alternative universe, I would probably dread going anyway, just because, like, I know the deal already. I know how it works, right? You get in there, they put a bottle of hard liquor in front of you. They got a bunch of girls around. You start sipping shots. You start giving out shots. You're taking shots. Everything is so loud that even if you wanted to have a conversation with someone, you couldn't. I swear, the fact that I used to convince myself that this was fun makes me legitimately laugh when I look back at it, because I was never having fun. Obviously, everyone's different, but if anything, for me, this whole thing would usually just give me anxiety. Like, I don't know if it's my personality or what, but it gives me like agita even thinking about it. And if you look around, no one's really having fun. Like, most of the girls got their phones out, they're recording. Most of the guys are looking around like for blood in the water, like, you know what I mean, like sharks. And it's like, what's the best case scenario here? You hook up with a girl, you don't even know her name. Like, when I was 21, I'd be like,
yeah, dude, that's exactly the point.
But you get older and you know how that feels, and all of a sudden it's like not objective number one anymore. And because of that, it's like, wait, this whole thing makes a lot less sense. Especially when the glue that holds this whole entire thing together is alcohol. And again, what I was talking about just now was best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you wake up dazed, confused, and poorer than you were the day before. Like, bro, I've had some nightmare experiences. I'll never forget, honestly, I've forgotten a lot of them, but I'll never forget waking up on my friend's couch, same clothes on, my sneakers are still on from last night. I'm just in a total panic, still feeling super walky from the night before, and I don't have my phone. It was Sunday, and I remember I had to drive back to school. I had class the next day, but I don't have a phone. I'm like, looking all under the couch in my pants. I'm like, I can't go back to school. I need to drive back there. I don't have directions. I don't have a phone. I just started freaking out, and I had to wait outside this club all day to see if it was even in there, and thank God it was. But I remember just like barely making it back to school Sunday night alive, and I was 21 at this point. I had already been going to clubs for a couple years. Don't snitch on me. But I remember on that drive back, this was the first time I had this realization. I was like, yo, I paid for this experience. Like, this pain and suffering that I'm feeling right now costed me money. And I've had way too many of those experiences over the years, and I like I said, I can't remember some of them, and some of them I don't want to share on the internet. You know what I mean? But each time it's like I felt like I lost a piece of my soul. I'm not going to say each time, but 90% of the time I would go out to a club, it'd be like, that sucked. I feel less of a man than I did before, and shout out to my mom, because she really tried to warn me over and over as a kid that nothing good happens after midnight, and I just didn't listen. You know what I mean? But think about it. Think about what a nightclub is and what it's doing. You put a bunch of people in this tiny space and you load them up with booze. It's like, what do you think is going to happen? It's not going to be, Sunday service. I've never once had a wholesome experience at a nightclub. I've seen people get knocked out for literally nothing, like for accidentally stepping on someone's shoes. I've seen a finger get cut off. I've seen bottles get thrown at people's domes. Like, can you imagine paying $1,000 for a bottle of Casamigos just for someone to
headshot you
with it like an hour later? Like, you could have bought a round trip flight to Europe or something, and now look at you. And I want to be clear, I'm no Buddha now. It's not like I've ascended spiritually to a place where I'm above all of this. Like, maybe in the future I will step foot in a club at some point. I don't want to be like they should all be closed, even though low-key I think they should. For me, at least, it's important to not look back at anything that I've done with regret. Because when I was a kid, I just didn't listen to anybody. So it's like I almost had to have these experiences. I had to learn this the hard way, or else I just would have never learned it. And it's like the mistakes I made, all that shit, not to sound corny, but it's like I wouldn't be where I am today, and I'm happy with where I am today. So, it worked out. And I do think going out every once in a while is good. Like having a beer with the bros, taking a girl out for drinks, like that's good stuff, man. But for me, going to a nightclub, spending a ton of money, staying out till 4 a.m, trying to justify what I spent, it just, I don't know, I feel like it just prevents like any type of forward progress that I need to make in life. Consistent sleep, my morning routine, saving my money, not humiliating myself. These are all things that help me move forward, and these are all things that I would have to trade, to go out to one of these spots. And this is just me again. For me, it's personally not even close to being worth it, and I think a lot of people feel this way too. Like if you look at the numbers, I don't think the nightclub business is exactly a business that you would want to get into right now. But yeah, once I realized that, okay, this is ass, I'm off this. It really took me a while, I'm not gonna lie. And to this day, it's like I'm not gonna stop going out and trying new things and experiences, but and become like antisocial. But I need to stop doing things that make me feel like shit. You know what I mean? And if things that make me feel like shit was a list, going to a club would be like basically at the top of that list. So it's all part of this bigger understanding of figuring out what chasing short-term gratification does to me after extended periods of time. Like it's time for me and the bros to be building, not burning. And something I noticed too is like when I stopped using social media, you stop seeing this constant flexing and like posting of people out and about, and that FOMO that these places thrive off, that they live off, just goes away. My FOMO has turned into like ROMO. You know what I mean? Like relief of missing out. And I'm sure like clubs were a vibe in the 80s, in the 90s, the early 2000s. I feel like pre-COVID, I got to see a little bit of that myself. Like the vibes were just different. There was actual genuine fun to be had. And I remember that. I always picture like how sick clubs would have been in like the 60s, dude. Jazz clubs, the aura of going to a jazz club. I actually can't imagine how awesome that probably was. But yeah, like another thing about clubs, it's this painful reminder of how upside down shit is right now. You know what I mean? Like the fact that people have 20 grand to blow on alcohol in one night, and that every single night of the week this is happening. It's like the whole thing kind of grosses me out now, especially because like people are really struggling now more than ever. And in New York especially, that struggle is right in my face when I'm walking around. Like there's homeless people outside these same clubs that people are dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars at every single night, and they're begging for money in the cold. It's just like, I don't know. It just, like my friend sent me this kid, he posted this receipt of paying 100 grand at like Live in Miami, and it's just not a flex. It's like, to me, it's disgusting. Like honestly, everyone's allowed to do whatever they want, spend their money however they want. Maybe if I was a billionaire, one night I'm bored, I'd be like, all right, let's go drop, freaking 50 bands at the club. I mean, I really don't think so. But for me, I just can't understand. Like if I had that kind of money, I would be traveling all the time. I'd be coast to coast. You would not be able to find me at a nightclub. I would be, on the Amalfi Coast or some shit. I don't know. Maybe I'm bugging. It's just like something like traveling is way higher on the list of things I would spend money on than like a depressing ass club. Things I'll remember. You know what I mean? Going out to eat with people, having conversations, going places. So yeah, cutting out these humiliation rituals one by one, man. And actually that reminds me, if you guys have watched this channel for a long time, I've never promoted anything on here. A bunch of companies have reached out, but I told myself from the start, I'm not about to promote a product if it wasn't something I actually used and could actually do some good. So Opal is an app that I have used every single day since I saw this billboard. It's like the easiest way to take back the time and focus that all these companies have stolen from us for years. So I actually reached out to them. They were super dope, gave me my own link. So if you're feeling overstimulated, if you've been spending way too much time on your phone, try it out. It's free. Watch your screen time just get decimated. Like, I can't stress enough how awesome it is. You guys add me on there. So click the link in the description and check it out for yourself. It's helped me a ton, and I know it's going to help you guys as well. So that's why I feel so comfortable, plugging it here. So if you guys made it all the way to the end, that means the world to me. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later. Peace.